A long time ago, on a comics page far, far away. Greetings and welcome to May the Panel Be With You, the Star Wars comic book show brought to you by the Punch Up Entertainment Network. I am your humble host, Mike Gargoni, and joining me, as always, the hole to my Darth Vader, it's John Campbell.
Yes, Gargoni, it's time. It's time to reach the end of this saga, which is only 4 issues. It feels like we've been doing it for 2.5 years.
Look, maybe it would have been this much of a slog had it been an actual movie, but it really feels more drawn out when we're doing this week to week. It really does.
Oh boy, yeah, I know. I was like, oh, and this one's on me because I was like, it'd be fun. Let's do that Splinter of the Mind. Let that could be a wacky good time. Oh, boy.
Look, we've been doing alt takes on A New Hope for our entire coverage now. We've been doing like weird what ifs with the Infinities. We take a couple of sidetracks here and there, even in the Marvel book. Doing the what if sequel right after we're done with Empire Strikes Back totally makes sense.
Well, it feels like, once again, it's sort of like we're going in. We've left it all on the field. We've wiped the slate clean. Now we can fully start our post Empire, coverage.
And maybe it was a mistake to start with the biggest what if of them all, right? The what if broke Star Wars happened.
Well, yeah. What if Star Wars shit the bed and yeah.
Yeah.
If everybody was like, yeah, nah. America went, no thanks.
Yeah, if the world at large said no thank you Star Wars, this is what we would have gotten. And
nice
boy,
try, Luke.
It feels like it. It really does.
Yeah, well, this does feel like, boy, this would have been a sad, defeated Star Wars if this movie had come out. This would have been like, oh boy.
For our listeners, if you're just jumping in now, why? But
I just want to hear how this ends, all right? I don't care about the rest
That's
of it.
fair. That's fair. Jump to the ending.
Yeah. This is issue 4 of 4 on Splinter of the Mind's Eye.
Yeah, issue number 4, originally released in June of 1996. This is the last issue of Dark Horse's adaptation of the Alan Dean Foster novel, Splinter of the Mind's Eye, which was, to recap briefly, the first of the expanded universe novels written as a possible sequel to Star Wars should the original Star Wars have not been successful. This would have been the cheaper version of a sequel to Star Wars.
This was the off-ramp in case this whole thing fell apart.
Yeah. This particular adaptation was scripted and inked by Terry Austin. We have pencils by Chris Sprouse, letters by Steve Dutro, James Sinclair on colors, and, of course, the only things we really can't complain about through all of this is the covers by Mark Harrison.
These covers. These covers are very nice.
They're very evocative of the stuff you and I grew up with in the 90s, those expanded universe novels that were Star Wars for us until the sequels came out.
Oh, God. Yeah,
until the prequels came out, I should say.
That was all we had, man. Kids, you don't know how good you have it.
For all the people complaining about Star Wars, the fact that we even have a constant stream of Star Wars is still just such a warm blanket to me.
That was a totally, we would have said you're crazy in the 90s. We didn't have that. That was not even something we perceived as being an option.
Honestly, even in the mid-aughts and into the teens, during the Clone Wars times, when it was we have Clone Wars, and that's great.
That's what I remember thinking. I remember thinking, Clone Wars, this is probably going to be it for Star Wars, this will be it. This will be sort of the last Star Wars thing. Mm-hmm. Okay, and I'm okay with that. I had sort of made peace with Star Wars kind of had its time, and now it's just going to be some comic books and some animated stuff, and that'll be fine.
We can spend 6 years buttressing the prequels and giving them scaffolding.
Yeah, it's like we got some Star Wars movies, then we got to do a lot of work to fix those Star Wars movies, and then
And we're kind of in that weird interregnum period where they're doing that for the
oh
sequels
yeah,
now.
yeah. No, you can feel that watching some of the shows where I'm going like, are you trying to do this? Okay, all right, yeah.
Look, the moment we start talking about how the main bad guy of the Bad Batch is the project lead for Project Necromancer, I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, so we're just straight up somehow the next 10 years of Star Wars is going to be trying to justify the somehow Palpatine returned line.
And my prediction is we'll get to a point where I'm like, okay, it still was a bad call, but like it makes a little more sense.
Yeah.
That's I feel like best case scenario for me is going to be like, well, those movies still don't work, but like they made it make a little more sense. That's
In
all
this,
I'm really hoping for.
in the same way that they like justify Anakin's fall in ways with through the Clone Wars.
I have always said this about the Clone Wars. I love the Clone Wars, but it doesn't retroactively make the prequels good. If anything, it's more just like, oh well, shit. It actually makes me go, well, if they could have been this good, I don't understand why they weren't better. It actually makes them worse in some ways in my mind. It does make more storylines make sense. Anyway, that's not what this is. This is
Splinter of the Mind's
Splinter.
Eye.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Splinter.
let's pull this Splinter out and get to our cover here.
Yeah,
Again, the
yeah.
thing we can't complain about is the
Okay.
cover.
The cover's great. It's Luke and Vader crossing sabers. It's awesome.
And there's a big glowy thing in the background that looks like an eye, and it's evocative, and it's
It's
this is
not an
good.
eye. It's a Kyber.
Kyber, Kaiburr.
Kyber. Yeah. Cool as hell, though. This cover's awesome.
Yep, we love it. But
Yep.
nothing like this is going to happen in the book.
Nope. Enjoy the. Hey, have your fun right now, people, because this is as
Okay.
good as it's going to
I say that. There is a lightsaber duel between Vader and Luke, but the way it ends makes me so angry as to like put the rest of it out of my mind.
Yeah. Yeah, it's bad. It's real bad. Yeah, which is, it's sad. It's sad because you just think like, why would I ever not enjoy Luke and Vader dueling? And this book answers that.
So we get to our credits page. We're coming in right where we left off, where some guy waterboarding Luke.
We start with our hero being drowned in a lake. Yeah. And then once again, our favorite curmudgeonly old. They called her a Jedi Master in the last issue, which is wrong. But and we'll get the full review.
She's been claiming this whole time that she is a master of the Force, and in the first issue, we see her like moving a salt shaker across the table.
But here she is going, "That's it, kid's finished." She so quickly is always just like, "Yep, Luke's gonna die."
Lest we forget from last issue, our heroes, Luke and Leia, with their B team of 3PO, R2, the two Yuzum, the not Wookiees that have been with them since the prison release.
Off-brand Wookiees.
Off-brand
they're
Wookiees.
on the lower shelf. Yeah.
And Hala, the old woman who claims she's an expert in the Force, and they've been following to find the Kyber crystal.
Imagine Obi-Wan Kenobi, but way lamer and more annoying.
Imagine Obi-Wan Kenobi if they were played by one of the Golden Girls.
We did talk about that. You could cast any of the Golden Girls in this part, and it would be actually it would be more delightful than reads on the page. But
yes,
those women are all treasures, all treasures. But R.I.P. to all. We live in a post Golden Girls world, and it makes me sad.
That's
all right. Anyway, though,
existence we have.
I know when Betty White died, I'm like, they're all gone. All the girls are gone. All right. On that sad note, here's something we pointed out. Okay, so this is a connection back to last week's episode, where Luke was the one who trudged through the water, and Leia admitted not knowing how to swim, which is insane. And then it's further brought up by the fact that Luke here is thinking in his final moments, funny, death by drowning wasn't even an option to be considered back on Tatooine.
Again, the fact that this comic book points that out makes the last issue all the more frustrating in retrospect, where Luke is the one who can swim and Leia can't. And anyway, Luke saves himself by lifting a rock.
Oh wait, never mind. Yeah, it is the you talking about. It is like, all right, never mind. Nah.
Because
Yeah.
even as he's having this death thought, we see his hand
Yeah.
raising up an inset panel
Right.
and the rock lifting with it.
I guess this is the end. Actually, it's not.
Because
Great.
then there's a whack,
You're right.
and the guy is hit by a rock, and he wins. That's it.
Luke has permanently brain damaged a man.
I assumed this fight was to the death.
Yeah, it seems like he killed this dude, right?
I thought so, but then we have him show back up later.
Yeah. And be cognizant and able to speak. Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, Leia's all congratulatory. You did it. How did you do it? But maybe it wasn't Luke who did it because he says, I did? How did I do it? And
even a humble master of force like myself couldn't have done better.
so maybe it was Hala who lifted the rock and chucked it at the guy?
Yeah, there's a lot of things that don't fully add up on here, though.
Or did Luke do it on instinct? He's not even really aware of what he did, though?
Yeah, right. It's got to be that, right? Because doesn't Hala basically admit that she doesn't have powers?
But she does. We see her moving the salt shaker in the first issue.
Yeah, I know. Hala is a mess of a character.
Like, she's at least force sensitive.
She's got to be, right? Yeah. Well, we'll talk about later anyway, we'll get to her reveal when we get to it. But anyway.
So
they're
they're invited to a feast.
Yeah. And Luke's like, no way, man, we don't have time to sit around and eat. We spent 12 hours napping earlier, so we got to get back to the hunt for the Kyber crystal.
But then Hala says, like, okay, but if you reject their offer, then you just have to fight that guy again.
Meanwhile, they're gonna have to fight that same guy who they're currently lifting up, going, what?
Who can't form speech patterns and is now like convinced he's a chicken because he got hit so hard in the head with a rock.
He has a traumatic brain injury, but sure. Anyway, so they do sit down and feast, though.
Yeah. So they
And
have this delicious food. Get on your feet. Here comes the ex-champ to honor you. So the ex-champ is back. He's got a bandage on his head, so he's fine, I guess.
He's smiling. Is that a good thing? Oh, he doesn't know what day it is or where he is, but
but then he bitch slaps Luke. And
God damn. And then Hala's like, yeah, hit him back. Get him. And Luke's like, no, wait, man. I got bigger problems. Darth Vader's here.
Yeah. So there's an exchange of pleasantries that is interrupted by Luke being like, oh, Vader, as he senses Vader.
He's here. Darth Vader is here. And then Hala's like, who's that now? And Leia's just quickly like, he's the Dark Lord of the Sith. We met him earlier. Don't worry about it. And Luke says that something blacker than night stirs the Force, like when Ben Kenobi was killed. Okay.
Okay. So, again, this sequel presumes that nothing else has been made other than A New Hope. So, we don't know about the whole like transubstantiation into the Force, and even Force Ghost Obi-Wan isn't a thing as of this writing.
No, that's a good point too. We're so used to Force Ghost Obi-Wan that to have it here is interesting.
And so the idea that like Obi-Wan's death was something traumatic and not something he accepted, even though that is sort of what's shown in the film.
Well, he literally says, if you strike me down, I shall become more powerful. And then the last image we see of Obi-Wan is him very peacefully putting up his saber and closing his eyes. And yes, and then Vader reacting, as we've talked about, not like victory, I've killed this guy, but more like, where did he go?
Yeah. But
so I don't know how you could read that as like, wow, he just fucking murdered that dude. Although I guess, once again, is he working off of a script, not the movie?
And again, Luke's reaction to that whole thing is definitely a distant, like, I saw Obi-Wan killed.
It was traumatic to Luke. But this is implying that more than my perception, there was something that happened in the Force that was a dark, even though conceivably, shouldn't that have been a moment of light as it's confusing.
Yeah, and again, none of the later like cosmic force stuff that would eventually become canon exists at this point.
And also, it doesn't have to be a dark stirring in the Force. We know, once again, in later movies, of course, that Luke and Vader can just sense each other. Couldn't he have just been like, I sense Vader? It doesn't
Yeah.
have to be a dark stirring in the Force. Darker than night.
Well, something I always love in later iterations, and something they do great in the Rebels TV show, is this idea that, like, okay, people who sense the Force can sense Vader, even if they don't know what they're sensing. There's a moment in Rebels where Kanan and Ezra are together, and they just turn to each other. Like, there's just this moment where they both stop and they turn and look at each other. Like, do you feel that? And he's like, it's cold. So this idea that like, Vader is this winter force coming that you can feel.
He takes up the room, right? Like the sort of thing where it's like, he's emanating so much energy that it's just like it's impossible not to pick up on that wavelength.
Yeah. So,
but anyway,
that's what Luke's going on here. Meanwhile, we get some scouts from the Koei, these subterranean Morlock-looking dudes that they've teamed up with as of this issue, I guess.
Yeah, humans are coming. Many stormtroopers with the guns down the tunnel from the surface that we used. Just as I sensed Vader, he no doubt can sense me. No shit, Luke.
And we have some explanations from the elders here saying Kanu, the god of these people, has judged that you are the greatest warrior present. That means you must lead them into battle, Luke Skywalker.
And then a very not Luke line is like, perfect. Stone axes against power rifles. Power rifles is also interesting. I never heard that term.
Again, this is like before the term blasters was ubiquitous.
Yeah. I don't need 3PO to tell me what to do. That sounds like Han again.
That does sound like Han, but here's the thing again about this adaptation. We're using some language that Alan Dean Foster clearly like wrote in his book before the rest of Star Wars was established. This adaptation is happening.
Doesn't have to do that.
20 years later.
Yeah, it doesn't have to do that. Because it's already shown that it will make some changes. So why wouldn't you just say blaster rifles?
Right, like why not update the language if you're also going to lean away from the Luke Leia romance stuff and lean into like, okay, this is firmly set before Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah, putting Piet in there and stuff like that, where you're like, wait a minute, why are you doing that then? But then going like, well, we got that from the book, so we have to stick with it. What are you talking about?
Yeah, why use power rifles as opposed to blasters? Why do a lot of this stuff?
There's a laziness of we're only doing some work, but we're not going to work too hard on this thing. It really does feel like that, where they're going like, or like we started out to make some changes, and then went, we just got to get this thing out, man.
And again, something I talked about last issue, but like I would love to sit down and figure out a timeline of a release schedule for all the Dark Horse stuff in the 90s, just to figure out like which issues were the rush issues, which issues like were coming out late.
Because I have no idea like how much they would have been counting on this to be successful, because it is an oddity, right? I think they were probably just counting on, here's the thing we can do fairly easily and people will buy it because it's Star Wars. That's my cynical view on what probably is the attitude. It's just like, great, less work because we're adapting already existing source material, and Star Wars sells books. Period.
I mean, when were the special editions released?
The next year, 97 for the 20th.
So, and we've already covered our A New Hope special edition adaptation, which we firmly said was like the laziest, most perfunctory comic book adaptation of the ones we read.
Truly is doing nothing with the material.
While this is a little bit better than that, they have a very similar energy.
Yeah. It just, they feel passionless, right? It doesn't feel like anyone here is like, oh man, isn't this cool? It's more just like, and then this happens, and this happens, and this happens, and there you go. There's your.
And on the next page, more stuff happens.
More things continue to happen. This is where you get stupid. This is where you start the book. One of the things that really pisses me off about this last issue is it's clear that they've had to truncate a lot of stuff. So you just get like, the Koei made short work of the Imperial Advanced Scouts. Well, we didn't see that.
Nope, but Luke says it in a panel, so it must be true.
Yeah, nice of them to contribute their weapons to us. One clear shot at Vader is all I ask, is what Leia says.
I mean, I guess they just need that line to explain where they suddenly got blasters from. Because Luke,
Yeah.
on the last page, literally says, perfect, stone axes against power rifles. Suddenly, everyone has blasters.
Yep. And it's just, once again, it's like a thing where they just go like, yeah, that was so cool the way that those guys killed all the stormtroopers, and you're like, did they?
Yeah, I don't know. And look, there's some coolness to be derived here. I love the stormtroopers filing in formation down these like dark caves.
Yeah.
Like cave fighting stormtroopers? That sounds awesome.
But they're done in by a net.
Look, we knew that primitive technology will always overwhelm a stormtrooper. That's just a law of Star Wars.
That's just, it absolutely is, time and time again. They've never counted on things like rocks and rope. Not once.
Not once.
That guy's got a stone. We're fucked.
Wait, are you saying that log will swing and hit us? How are we supposed to defend against that?
Nothing to do with that, man. You're sending us to slaughter, man.
That little teddy bear has 2 rocks on the end of a rope and he's going to throw it at me? I will die.
Yeah. That's it, man. Come on. You can't send us out there against that.
The might of the Imperial military can do nothing against such reckless hate.
Watch out, he's got a slingshot.
That one's got a pointy stick. What are we supposed to do against that?
I do love when the stormtroopers just back down at stick point. All right, man. You win. No defense. So anyway, it's Hala who just starts murdering here. Let him have it. Boom. Boom. Die, stormtrooper scum.
We get a pretty fun splash page of all the pitched combat, laser blast going everywhere, Luke in the middle of it with his lightsaber and blaster akimbo. We get one of the Yuzum lifting up a stormtrooper.
I like that. I like this. This page is fun. Well, because it takes 4 issues to go like, oh yeah, like a bunch of scrappy rebels killing stormtroopers. Hey, that's kind of what I want in my Star Wars comic. Believe it or not.
You mean it's like a war in the stars? Cool.
Whoa, that's crazy. Hey, that's a good idea. Somebody should do something with that.
But in the bottom left corner, we have a dark, familiar shadow coming up from a cave entrance.
I even like that. Like all this chaos and Vader's just strolling in. Mm-hmm. That feels very Vader to me. And then, yeah, I mean, and Luke is murdering. Because he's taken that. When we go to the next page, rip.
I love him warping the stormtrooper. Then we have the champion with his headband bashing a dude's head in with a rock.
I do like that. That is I've been, we've been not super hot on this art, but I do like the chipped pieces of the stormtrooper helmet coming off. That's very cool.
We get one of the Yuzum with this axe just sweeping through dudes.
Yuzum with an axe? That's pretty cool.
We get Luke, like, no-looking, deflecting a blaster bolt with his lightsaber.
Can I ask about this, though?
Yeah.
He's thinking behind, and then he says, thanks, Obi-Wan?
Yeah, don't trust your eyes. They'll deceive you.
Oh, yeah, it's kind of a reach, though.
I mean, I got it.
Yeah, I guess that's the idea, yeah. The no-look is cool. Yeah. And then, dab.
Yeah, and then he stabs a guy. And Vader just off in the background... Gremmel, reform all survivors at the surface, because the troopers are just getting fucking wrecked.
Yeah, and then he's like, "Oh yeah, okay, sure, yeah, pull everybody back."
What's Gremmel doing down here? Grimmel? How do we say his name?
I've been saying Grimmel, but Graham, it doesn't matter. He's gonna be dead soon.
Yeah.
And then I'm sorry. Go to the next page. Vader, Darth Vader.
No, it's Hank Vader.
I'm actually his brother, Dennis Vader. How you doing? Darth really was sad he couldn't make it, but he sent me. I'm his official approved lookalike. Yeah, that is one of the worst lines in a Star Wars comic ever. Whoa, Vader, Darth Vader? Oh shit! The name Vader.
What was that web series? Was it Chet Vader, the office manager?
Yeah, hilarious. I was about like early days of YouTube or web series kind of stuff. I love that. Was it Chet? I think maybe was it Chad Vader? It was something like that. Office manager, yeah. And he was just. I'm gonna type. I think it's Chad Vader. Chad Vader, day shift manager.
That's it. Yeah.
Oh, funny! Such a funny show.
I wonder if can we still watch that on the internet? Is that still around?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, it's still available. Cool.
You can watch. I'm looking at a video right here that's all the episodes compiled together. It's 3.5 hours.
Excellent. So if you want yet another strange artifact of early Star Wars fandom, because that was a fun parody series. Yeah,
it was great. He is Chad Vader, Darth's younger brother, who is a manager at a grocery store.
Yeah,
he manages the day shift at the grocery store. You can go to Blame Society is the name of the YouTube channel and the production company that made that.
Cool.
Man, 2006. God,
I know. Like, just a couple years off of Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah. God. Wow. And we ate that up, man. That show was hilarious. Yeah. It was aimed right at us. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we got this fight breaking out. Luke going, Vader, Darth Vader, not Chad, the day shift manager.
Man, why couldn't they have sent Chad? We would have taken that guy out. But anyway, Leia's just ready to give it to Vader here.
Yeah. So you're not going anywhere, Dark Lord, if I have anything to say about it. Vader raising a fist, saying, "Our time will come, young Skywalker."
Very comic book supervillain. Until next time, Luke Skywalker. Curse.
Leia taking a pot shot at him,
and she hits him.
Yeah, but it hits his cape, and like Batman's cape, it's bulletproof.
Yeah, that's a good question. I can't say that's inconsistent with anything we've seen, but I've never actually seen that Vader's cape is armored in any way. And he's just like, nope, just got me in the cape, but god damn it, I love this cape.
Even Grimmel says, Lord Vader, your cape.
Yeah, I know, I said. And then a very not Leia line of, well, darn.
Yeah, she didn't get the kill shot, so she says, darn.
Oh, darn it. I tried to kill Darth Vader. But yeah, just not great. Anyway, the rest of the stormtroopers, though, get taken out by a
falling rock.
Yeah. Oh?
An axe, who knows who wields it, doesn't matter. Cuts a rope. That lets a giant rock fall. Rock falls, everyone dies.
Get ready. There's going to be a lot of stuff that's implied off screen or off panel in this. So get ready for more of that. Yeah. And then Leia's like, what are you hoping about, Luke? We just killed everybody. And pretty quickly, we've got stormtrooper helmets on sticks. They got the fast, man.
If there's one thing a subterranean group of militaristic badasses need, it's heads on sticks.
Yeah. Also, this is kind of a clunky Luke line. It's Vader. I sensed him turn not back toward town, but toward the temple where the crystal is. Something about that order of words reads weird to me. I sensed him turn not back towards the town, but toward the temple where the crystal is.
Yeah, it's like Yoda-ish.
Yeah, it's a little... sensed him turn not back feels weird.
I sensed him head towards the temple where the crystal is, not back to town.
Yeah, that's better. Yeah, right. Like, it's just a weird sentence structure.
Yeah, and again, like maybe reads better in a novel when it's surrounded by prose, not just in a word bubble.
But that's the thing, because when you put it on somebody, now I'm imagining like Mark Hamill saying it, and you'd be like, "What?" And Carrie Fisher would have flipped out if she read that in a script.
Yeah. Also, the fact that Luke's force sensitivity basically works like radar at this point.
Yeah, it's like, hold on, wait, everybody quiet down. I'm trying to get a sense of where Vader's going. Not back door down.
Oh, fuck, he started heading 31 degrees east. What are we supposed to do now?
Oh, no, we know what lies 31 degrees east of here. It's bad, man. It's real bad. Oh, Jesus. Oh, boy. Yeah. Anyway, hey, guys, this isn't good. I save your money on this. Don't buy this comic.
You know what Luke says?
Oh, I was gonna say I saw one of the new like epic collections of Star Wars comics, and it was the cover of this, and I'm like, boy, you're leading with that's contained in there. Marvel, are you trying to sell books?
Again, cover's good.
Cover is good, but it's and I would have thought nothing of it if we hadn't done this because I don't think I would have recognized it as the Splinter of the Mind's Eye. Yeah. But I'm like, oh, that's contained in there because they've been as we've talked about since Marvel owns all the Dark Horse stuff. They've been putting out new omnibuses and epic collect stuff of Dark Horse Star Wars material.
And look, as a certain level of completionist, there's stuff that I own that maybe I will never read again. That's for sure.
There. I have many a thing like that. I've been trying to pair. Believe it or not, I have a lot of comic books, but I am now, especially with
Glances
all the
at shelf behind John's shoulder.
That's one of like 5 or 6 shelves that are like that. But I've been in today's world where we have all these apps and stuff. I have been putting more thought to what do I actually need physically? Like what is important enough to me that I need to have this on a shelf? Because I can basically read anything digitally now.
Sure. Yeah, it's a lot easier.
Yeah, and it is sort of a thing where it's like, well, I want to read that, but I don't need that in my collection.
And I will say, just as a public service announcement, if you're looking to slim down your collection with a similar thought process of like, what do I actually want to own and possess versus what did I have around simply to read, but now that it's available digitally, that's not necessarily something a priority I have. Consider donating your books to your local library so the next generation of nerds can find this stuff on a shelf somewhere.
Absolutely. I've donated a lot to the library.
Same.
Basically any of the ones that aren't like potentially valuable omnibuses that I could sell.
Look, let's not go crazy.
Yeah. But I have a lot of stuff where I'm like, rather than maybe making $6 off of eBay, I can give it to the library. I'm okay doing that.
Yeah.
Speaking
of things we'd rather be kicking around in the library, we're back with Hala, who's saying the Koei say the troopers left a vehicle above, aimed at the exit. They're ready to show us another way out.
This is also just once again, it's just everything's happening so fast. Like, oh yeah, the Koei say there's a vehicle up there, so we can go. Bye.
Cut to, we're outside, and we found another way out, and we're looking at a trooper tank that's pointed its guns at the exit that they were supposed to come out.
And so by the way, you rarely see people actually look down the scopes of those stormtrooper rifles.
That's true. Yeah, because they don't have a shoulder stock, so firing them from that position would be insane.
Right. Because we've seen the sniper rifles that they make of blasters, and those are so yeah. It's always weird that they have scopes on them, even really. But I've never seen you really never see a stormtrooper line up. All right, maybe they should because we've talked about their march.
Look, Solo has a scope on his hand blaster.
Yeah, and you've never seen him use that ever.
No.
Ever. Not once.
Again, I always interpret it as just like, okay, this is a handy mono macro binocular that you just happen to have access on your weapon if you need it.
Right. So they're like, hey, look, there's stormtroopers down there. Send the Yuzum.
Yeah, so Hin and Ki, remember they had names.
Oh, yeah. No, I didn't. I mean, I did remember they had names, but I like when I'm reading something and even my brain is going, it's not worth committing.
Well, especially when the whole last issue never mentions them by name and actually never mentions them at all.
It's pretty bad, yeah. So
they're in the background art of the last issue, but they never actually are said, hey, Hin and Ki, follow me.
I do like, well, come on, don't you want to walk to the Temple of Pomojima?
Remember, Pomojima is the god where the Force gemstone is located, that temple.
The very disturbing Leia lineup. I thought I'd hang back till the Yuzum clear out the various body parts and stray organs. Jesus Christ.
I mean, look, the Yuzum are good at their job. Maybe not as thorough and cleanly as Leia might like, but they get it done.
They get it done. No, and hey, no questions asked, man. That's the real important thing. And so they get into this troop transport, and Luke does ask what I would as well. Hala, why can you drive this thing? And she's like,
She did fine with the last one right up until the worm ate it is her line. And look, she's right where that's concerned. But then when she immediately backs up into a tree, we're just like,
I also think it's really interesting that she did this the last time she drove in issue 2 or whatever. She goes, fire up, R2, which I'm like, if he has those kind of controls, why can't R2 operate it? We've seen many a droid-operated vehicle in Star Wars. like little, like especially things that drive around like this.
I guess, again, I think R2's just hot wiring this thing, so if he's not, like, making sure the
Yeah,
engines are turned on, he can't do both at the same time, maybe?
I guess maybe, but there's a slot for. I don't know. Like I said, we're used to like the droid taxis and stuff like that, right? Like
Yeah.
it's yeah. And then of course she immediately smacks into a tree, and it's a joke.
Yep. Haha, old lady can't drive.
I wonder if the trees ahead are as nervous as I am. Yeah.
Cut to, see what I did there? Well, you will in a couple of panels, as we get back to Vader.
Yeah, and so yeah, Vader is yelling at Grimmel, saying, "Your troops had to be inadequately prepared and poorly trained to be routed by that mob of ignorant savages. Little does Vader know this will be a thing that consistently happens to stormtroopers all the time. Constantly. So it really isn't Grimmel's fault specifically."
Especially Grimmel's saying, they took us by surprise, my lord.
Here's a great Vader line. "Your excuses befoul me, Grimmel, as does your very existence." And then he cuts him in half.
Oh boy, that's the worst case of cut in half I've ever seen.
Well, he went the long way. This is the way Perlman goes out in Blade 2, man.
Yeah.
That way, yeah, long way.
Again, this is just a really, I'm not going to say unnecessary. Grimmel needed to die, but why we wait this long for it to happen when he accomplishes nothing since his miraculous resurrection after being exploded?
That's what I mean, is why make a point of bringing him back and give him a scar and like, I will get revenge, only to then have him killed by Vader unceremoniously. Vader killing officers who fail him, of course, is on the pit. But then I also don't understand why Vader didn't kill him for failing the first time, like I was saying in the last issue. It feels like Vader would have just killed him immediately upon landing on the planet then.
A classic trope.
Yeah.
A classic trope in genre fiction where bad guys are a face that you latch onto and recognize is having, and even just in fiction in general, having a big badass show off their bona fides by showing up and killing the person you thought was a big badass.
Of course, yeah, sure.
Vader is a great guy at doing that sort of thing.
Oh yeah, I like his line. Oh yeah, good.
The problem is Grimmel's never done anything badass.
No. And they set him, and like I said, they set him up to like have some kind of arc, and then he's just cut in half by the worst way to cut in half. But I do like, it's a very Vader line when he says, "We will travel faster without the dead weight, won't we, trooper?" And this guy just being like, yeah, good one, Vader.
Oh, that Lord Vader, he cracks me up. Please don't crack me up, Lord Vader.
A good note in the ranks, they do like that you get a, yes, my lord. Like, I just got cut in half. Oh yeah, man, it's true.
Thankfully, it was a lightsaber, so no muss, no fuss.
Yeah. I will also say, could have worked a little harder on the cut in half drawing because it doesn't really work, like his face being bisected. If you take a quick look on that, look at the nose.
Interesting. Yeah, the nose. He's got two noses.
And he's got too many teeth. The mouth.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah. That's what I mean. Is that I would have sent that back to be repenciled.
Also, wasn't one of his hands replaced?
Oh, yeah. Also, Vader's cutting him in a weird way where he's cutting him, like, not perfectly in half, but his blade also isn't turned. It doesn't quite work. It's a cool idea, but they needed another.
Damn it, John. I thought this panel was cool, and then you made me think about it.
Sorry. Anyway, they've arrived at Mordor.
Mordor, yeah. The Black Tower of Barad-dûr rises up from the jungle floor.
Yeah. There you go.
When it cuts to, and this caption is doing so much work, days later.
Days later! They're on this planet for 4 years! My God, no, it's incredible. Like, we've talked about all of this. Yeah, I mean, it's got to be pushing a month that they're on this planet. It's insane.
So, okay, it says it looks like it hasn't been disturbed for 1 million years. That's so not true. Because it's in the middle of a jungle.
What are you talking
Everything's disturbing it. The plant life is disturbing this place.
Well, and it's interesting that it doesn't have like vines growing around it. Everything just kind of stops at it.
But it does. Like, look at the drawing of the Black Temple. It's got like weird crawly vines all over it. They're
Right,
black,
but they're just black. That's the thing, is it's a coloring thing where it's not.
Yeah.
They haven't done enough. Yeah, nothing's disturbed it. It doesn't been disturbed. And by the way, disturbed for that's a long fucking time.
And again, they say looks like it hasn't been disturbed in a million years. That Luke doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about.
He's an idiot. Luke is such an idiot in this book. Best of all, Vader isn't here. I'm certain I'd feel it if he were. Remember how I can feel him? Just so you know.
I clocked him. He was going 30 miles an hour back that way.
About 46 degrees west, actually.
Oh.
God. Yeah. We've beaten him, princess. All right, Luke. Whoa. Okay, bud.
That's what you say right before everyone around you is going to die.
Yeah. And then actually Hala, unlikely voice of reason, is the one going, well, we do still have to actually find the crystal. Like, we know it's here, but he's just like, nope, got him. Suck it, Vader. God,
but thankfully we walk in. It turns out the roof is slightly collapsing. So much for this place being untouched.
Yeah, the holes in the roof let in plenty of light, but they don't appear terribly stable.
Hopefully we won't be here long enough to find out, says Luke.
I also, once again, this is another thing in the pacing of this book where they go like, we've still got to find that crystal. There it is. It's literally right in front of them. It's not under, they don't have to go in anywhere. They don't have to go under anything. It's literally, they walk straight ahead and there it is.
You're right in the chest of Cthulhu.
Yo, I know. The Cthulhu. Come on, man. That's just...
Look, in adventure fiction, there's a long, proud tradition of finding magical gemstones embedded in statues.
Yep.
Back to Jason and the Argonauts. Like, you got crystals and statues all the way down.
Absolutely.
Why,
this one just happened in Cthulhu.
Why make it look like Cthulhu in a Star Wars book? That's my question.
Yeah, I don't, like, it's one of those things where it's like, who is this for? Is this meant to be like an Easter egg? And if it is, why? Why would anyone who knows Star Wars and Lovecraft enjoy this, though?
Of the influences that Star Wars is built on, cosmic horror is maybe the least of the ingredients in Star Wars.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
It's there sometimes, and in a couple of novels, they lean heavier into it.
Especially if you go hard into the dark side shit, right? Like, it's there.
And like, there's this whole arc in the last of the novels written before the Disney takeover, when in the Clone Wars they were dealing with these ideas of the cosmic force, and we introduced the son, the daughter, and the father as these like force entities in that show. And if you watched Ahsoka, you know that there's maybe some callbacks to those characters at the end of that series, and it's a thing Filoni's been working on for a while.
I'm sure you know their name, but the witches, right? What's the order of the
Witches of Dathomir?
Yeah, the Witches of Dathomir. The Night Sisters, that's what I was looking for. They definitely are skirting the edge of some of that stuff, right? Like, they're definitely tapping into some darker cosmic kind of shit.
Well, and my point was, in the last of the novels, they introduced the concept of the Mother, before the Disney takeover wiped that away. And it was sort of implied that the Mother is some Cthulhu-ass monster at the center of a cage made of black holes.
And I know you've read it, and we've mentioned it a few times here, but the Colin Trevorrow script for episode 9 had the sort of like embodiment of the dark side of the Force as this kind of Lovecraftian thing that Kylo Ren finds.
Well, and you can actually find they filmed a scene with the Eye of Webbish Bog as the entity you're talking about. Is this weird parasite in a swamp that is like welded onto the skull of this big crimson baby that rises up out of the swamp that Kylo Ren confronts. And they built that horrible monster and like filmed something with it that we never saw in that film.
That's so frustrating, because I will say the description of that in the script is pretty fucking cool, and that whole section of that script was just good. I don't know. Move on.
Yeah. And in the more recent Vader comics, the Eye of Webbish Bog was returned to, and like they reuse those ideas in the Vader
Good.
comics.
That's good. Well, because like we talked about, Star Wars is very good about not forgetting it. Everything goes in a drawer to be potentially pulled out later,
Right.
which I do like
But
about that.
anyway,
Yeah.
they found the crystal. It's in the chest of Cthulhu. But what's this? Hold on. There's a slathering monster approaching.
Yeah, this dinosaur didn't get a part in Jurassic Park, and he's very upset about it.
Yeah, we cut to what's this? It's the iguana that didn't make the casting call for the Roland Emmerich Godzilla movie.
That was my part, damn it. My part.
So Hala opens fire, but the blaster bolt is just deflected off of this thing's scales.
And then, they do. Here come the names. Hin, Ki, get the rifles from the crawler.
So the Yuzum are sent back outside as Luke starts warping at this thing, the lightsaber seemingly having no effect as well. And that's when this thing lashes out with a big long tongue.
Yeah, that's an interesting choice to use its tongue as a weapon, but okay, sure.
I mean, look, certain lizards, like geckos and stuff, can like lump, and like frogs can grab flies with their tongue. So sure, why not?
Well, yeah, but that'd be cool if he actually grabbed Luke in his tongue, but he doesn't. He more just is like, wow, wow.
Yeah, and like it's covered in green ooze, so maybe it's poisonous.
That would be also cool if that was indicated in any way. Leia run, and Luke cuts down this support beam.
Yeah, remember the ceiling's not very stable, so Luke cuts out the support beams to make the roof collapse down onto the monster.
And
but unfortunately,
he Bethooms this thing good.
He Bethooms it good, but he also Bethooms himself good, because now Luke's trapped under the same rubble he dropped.
And then, oh boy, here's the thing. It's like, get those Yuzums over here. Ah, they're fucking dead.
Unfortunately, they're both dead.
Hey, that would have been cool to see. I killed them off panel. Because, yeah.
Because suddenly, who's this in the doorway? It's Vader.
Also, then a really weird line. I killed them. As for your droids, I simply had them turn themselves off. What?
I love the idea that outside... So, okay, Vader's here. Outside, off panel, he cut down the two Yuzum. Uh-oh.
Of course. Okay.
Are we back?
Yeah, we're back. I don't know what happened there.
I think my internet cut out.
Okay. I gotta remember to actually write this down, that it's episode, because I left one in the other day.
Whoops. Oh, episode 50? Yeah. I caught it on the audio version.
You know what's funny though? There was a comment about it that actually made it almost worth it. Somebody said, "How interesting, John and Mike question Yoda's powers and immediately suffer technical issues." Like, all right, you know what? I failed to remember that was in there, but I'm glad that guy enjoyed it as if it was a bit.
Okay. Timestamp. That all started at 47:40.
Okay, I'm writing that down.
And then we'll come back in at around 50 minutes.
Okay.
And I will bring us back in right about now to
Yeah.
say. So outside, off panel,
Yep.
Vader killed these two Yuzum and
Yep.
then turned to 3PO and R2 and said, "Hey, you two, turn yourselves off."
They're like, yes, sir. Never seen
3PO going,
that.
"Master Anakin, is that you?"
Yeah. We don't. Hey, that hasn't been established yet. Cool it.
Yeah.
Although, wasn't 3PO's memory wiped?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Yeah. Very, very convenient, George. I remember even sitting in the theater when they go and wipe this one's memory, and I was like, oh, nice, George.
Okay, and now here's where we get some real clunky Vader dialogue on this page.
Yeah.
Because
This is a fine entrance for him.
sure, but on top of "they're dead, I killed them," like,
Yeah.
of course Vader killed them.
I killed them with my lightsaber that I like to use sometimes.
But then Vader goes on to say, "My spies tell me it was you, Skywalker, who shot up my TIE fighter and destroyed the Death Star station. And you, Princess, in some ways, you are more responsible for my setbacks than this boy.
And
You shall both atone for your actions this day. I shall show you some rather novel uses for a lightsaber before you die, if you'll promise not to pass out. Tee-hee."
Ho, ho, ho. Uh-oh. Vader's gonna be a bad boy. God, it's bad.
Vader can quip. Vader can say,
Oh,
"Don't
of
choke on
course.
your aspirations. Your
But
lack of faith disturbs me."
because both of those are quick, right? It's like, okay, yeah, it's just sort of a like, don't choke on your ambitions, Vader out, you know? But here he's like, I will show you some novel uses for a lightsaber. Like I said, like if Vader's gonna quip, it needs to be and always a throwaway too, right? Where like what I love about the don't choke about your ambitions, he doesn't make a joke out of it. He's walking past and goes, careful not to choke on your ambitions. Like fuck. It's like a fuck you over his shoulder to him, you know?
One of the oft screen capped bits of the new Vader comic is from the Vader Down crossover event, where we have that moment where Vader is crash landing on a planet, the rebels have surrounded him, and one of them says, "Surrender, Vader, you're surrounded," and Vader igniting his lightsaber saying, "All I'm surrounded by is fear and dead men."
Badass.
Perfect.
No, that is exactly how you write Vader. And the Vader Down miniseries, very,
Yeah.
very good. Very
Good stuff.
Very, yeah, and that is dead on how he talks about. Yeah, he's clever, but it's still this doesn't feel threatening. I would be more like, what? Like if he said that, I'd be like, oh yeah, that does sound bad, but did you have to? It's too much. Vader's not this wordy, I think is what I'm getting at, right? He can quip, but he's not like, I will find novel uses for a lightsaber before you die. No, but not if you pass out first. Just like, you're talking too much, man.
And he can be like a little worriedy. Like he can say like, "This technological terror you've constructed pales in comparison to the powers of the Force." Like,
Yeah. But
he does deliver lines like that. But going on about like finding creative uses for a lightsaber, yeah. It feels out of character. But again, this novel originally was written when one of the few things we know about Vader is that he tortured Princess Leia.
Well, and yes, exactly. And the other thing about this is the whole thing about my spies tell me it was you, Skywalker, who shot up my TIE fighter, is very much like feels very sequely in that way, where it's like, yes, I am confirming that I now know that because I didn't actually see that happen per se. But let's reestablish what our issue with each other is.
And again, this is a book that is trying to make this make sense in the context of Empire, when it immediately can't as soon as Darth Vader knows who Luke Skywalker is.
Yes, exactly.
Because in every other confrontation we've seen in comic books since then, about if Luke and Vader had a confrontation between A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back, Vader can't know who Luke is yet. If that is to make any sort of sense.
Right. This is something, as we've talked about before, that the modern Marvel comics have dealt with a lot.
Yeah. And so to have him say, "You, Skywalker, that name that means nothing to me, Darth Vader."
Yeah. Hey, kid, I don't know. Come here, jackass. Get over here. I don't like you, and let me tell you why.
Your name may be Skywalker, but I'm going to have you pound sand before we're done with this.
And you know about sand. Or wait, do I know that? Hold on, George. Do I know he's from a sand planet?
Ooh, wait, no, I don't like sand. It's coarse and gets everywhere.
Well, that's right. Yes. Bad. Sand bad. Anyway.
Leia grabs a lightsaber, and she's coming at Vader.
She's coming at him, man. And boy, if people thought Rey suddenly knew how to use a lightsaber, and boy, does Leia really, with absolutely not an ounce of training, hold up pretty well against Vader.
John, that's because she's a steel kitten.
This goes back to the 70s comics when he was calling Luke a young pup.
Yeah, because immediately as Leia comes in, Vader blocks her blow and says, "The steel kitten chooses to fight. Good. That will make it more interesting."
Did you all hear when I called it a steel kitten? Is that like a thing? That should be like a thing people say now.
I think it's pretty wizard.
That's exactly it. May the Force give me leave to kill you before I die.
The Force is with me, not Yorg, as Leia clips him in the face, I guess?
Oh, fuck, that hurt. Oh, boy.
Meanwhile, Hala has climbed onto Cthulhu's rippling pecs and is about to take the Kyber crystal.
This is a jacked Cthulhu.
I mean, Cthulhu can be pretty jacked.
I've been working out. Yeah. You're mine now, and I'll never give you up, she says to the Kyber crystal.
Meanwhile, Vader really fucking up Leia's day when he slices her across the abdomen.
Yeah, why would that not be a kill shot?
Oh, there's a couple of blows here, because, now Vader turns the table and just starts wailing into Leia.
Like, he was talking earlier about how I'm going to enjoy torturing you, but also Vader is not an idiot. Once she posed any kind of threat, he would just take her out as quickly as possible, right?
But no, slashes her across the abdomen, then slashes her across the face, and says, "Surely a few burns can't hurt so much," which is grim from what we know about Vader later.
Yeah, and believe you me, I know about burns. No one's had worse than me. Talk to Obi-Wan about that. Oh, wait, you can't. I killed him, too. Oh. Or maybe I didn't. I'm still not quite sure what happened, actually.
Sick burn. See, I did it again.
Yeah, that's right. I can't be stopped. Vader's on a roll, baby. Somebody record this. I'll need it for my podcast.
Unfortunately, Luke is still stuck under some stones. But what's this?
We saw him use the Force to lift stones. Oh,
yeah.
God. It's him with his dying, burst of strength able to lift this thing off of.
Yeah, one of the Yuzum, bleeding and dying, crawls over to Luke. And Luke is just like, "That's it. Use the last of your strength to save me, not yourself."
Yeah. Because Vader killed these things outside, so this crawled into the cave like a little ways, right?
Presumably it crawled past Leia and Vader fighting.
And then Vader is continuing to inflict Leia with non-fatal wounds.
Come, little princess, where's your fighting spirit?
And just be a dick about it. Like I said, he definitely has his sadistic moments, but also he's going to want to end this. He doesn't particularly, he does obviously, doesn't like Leia, but in the meantime, he's also too stupid to be like, "Oh, look, Luke is clearly getting back up."
I know that giant not Wookiee over there is lifting a rock off of Luke. Maybe I should do something about it.
Sometimes I get tunnel vision. It's a bad problem for Vader, and Jesus.
I will say that helmet would probably cut down on his peripheral.
Yeah.
So
I told them I'm working on a new design of helmet. It's going to be pretty sweet, Steel Kitten. Still using it. And he loves Little Princess. Then when we turn the page, he calls her Little Traitor.
Yeah, so Leia goes down as we suddenly cut to Luke being freed, and then Hin, I guess, like falling over dead on top of the rock after Luke's free because the blood's seeping out of him.
Yeah, I know. I like that. And also, Luke trapped under that, but it just fell on him perfectly. It didn't actually do any damage to his legs or anything.
Oh,
It
thankfully.
just kind of pinned him.
So Luke's charging in. Leia throws him the lightsaber, and now Luke
Vader
and
is
Vader are
not-
going at it.
Vader reaches out. You're telling me he's not powerful enough to catch that with the Force?
Yeah, that would go right into Vader's hand, and now Vader has 2 lightsabers.
It would be pretty sweet, but yeah, it's just, yeah. This is the hashtag not my Vader in this book. This is once again, this is Vader only with the knowledge of the first movie because yeah, this Vader, this is not our guy.
This is villain of the week Vader.
Yeah, this is the Vader who like it's crazy when you hear like audio recordings of George Lucas being like Vader's sort of a one-off villain. We'll probably kill him off in the next movie. And you're just like, what? He was meant to just set up a bigger thing and then be taken out. It's crazy to think about that. And that, yeah, this isn't even Ming the Merciless Vader. This is this is Clytus Vader for you Flash Gordon fans out there.
Yeah, this is Vader is Jaws for James Bond fans.
Yeah, this is because I mean, if you just have the knowledge of that first movie, you're like, got it. Vader's the henchman because. Yeah. He's the henchman to Tarkin, and they mention the Emperor, so you're like, oh, well, Emperor's the big bad, which is true, except for, of course, we know Vader is a henchman to the Emperor with his own machinations, though.
Right. Anyway.
I'm going to kill you, Darth Vader, says Luke.
Yeah, it's such a line. I'm going to kill you, Darth Vader.
You have a high opinion of yourself.
Not of me, of Ben Kenobi.
Kenobi's dead. I killed him myself. You're a simple farm boy. Will never be Obi-Wan's equal. So shut up.
How does Vader know that he's a farm boy?
Yeah, there's a good point. I also got this file about your background, too, that I managed to read.
And again, this is a Vader who is not Anakin Skywalker, because all that information would change the context of this radically.
Absolutely. You do have something of the Force about you, but you are hardly its master. Only a master could do this. Lift a rock?
Throws a rock at him, but then Luke deflects that rock with a little rock?
Yeah. And then Vader literally pretty much gets into a dick measuring contest. He goes, well, that's good, but my stone was heavier, so my powers are greater. Come on.
My BDE Schwartz is bigger than yours.
Yeah, BDE, buddy. Good Lord. Oh, man. This is an embarrassment for 2 characters I love.
Yeah, and then Vader, swinging around, says, "You are very good for a child, Skywalker, but the end will be the same," as he hurls his lightsaber at Luke to just clink their 2 lightsabers together, knocking Luke's lightsaber out of his hand.
And then does something we've definitely never seen Vader do, bust out some Force lightning.
Okay, now this fight turns into the Phantom Ganon fight from Ocarina of Time, because Vader shoots a ball of energy at Luke, and Luke bounces the ball of energy back at him.
It's wild. Yeah. Is this even Force lightning? It kind of looks like it, but there's a ball of energy in it that isn't what we normally associate with that.
I had to reread this page and the next page a couple of times to actually like track what's happening here.
Yeah,
because
it's a little goofy.
Luke and Vader both lose their lightsabers. Vader on purpose. Luke is knocked out of his hand. Then there's a panel of Vader floating in the air like fucking Magneto, and a ball of lightning is being cast out from his hand, and we get an inset panel of Luke being like shocked by lightning, and it looks like, at first approximation, like Vader is using Force lightning on him.
Because when I went, I was like, wait, what? Yeah.
But then on the next page, we cut to a crack as Vader is hit by this ball of energy and sent flying backwards.
Yeah. Such power in a child. Not possible.
And so, like, the only thing that makes sense is Vader launches a ball of energy, Luke bounces it back at him hot potato style.
Yeah. But then he's like, yeah, but I bet that took it all out of you, pal.
And so then they both get their lightsabers back with a quick application of the Force. They swing at each other. Luke does a quick maneuver, and what's this? Vader's arm comes off.
Comes
like
right
Mr. Potato Head.
Well, that was the thing, and one or the other was going to lose a hand or an arm in the second movie, no matter what version, apparently.
I guess so.
That's weird.
But I guess this also establishes that Vader's a robot because, his arm is all messed up, but there's no blood or anything.
Because that was a big debate coming out of the movie in '77 for people who saw it then. Were like, wait, is he a robot or is he a man? What is he? Like,
he's more machine now than man.
Right, exactly. And so you go like, what does that mean? Is he fully a robot or what?
But I do love the image of Vader's arm with the lightsaber still ignited falling, and then we just cut to his boot on his own arm picking up the lightsaber.
That is pretty cool that he just rolls with losing an arm.
But this is where this comic absolutely loses me. I hate what happens here next because it's so fucking dumb.
Man, this takes me back to the days of doing the Hammer movies on Meet the Monsters, when they would always have Dracula totally embarrass himself down the stretch to be defeated.
Because we get this rad image of one-armed Vader standing back up, lightsaber in hand, going, "Your strength is spent, Skywalker. Time now to die."
And he can fall down this shaft. If Luke had done something to make that happen, that'd be fine. But nope, incidental, trips on his own severed arm.
We have an inset panel of Vader's boot catching on his dismembered wrist.
Yep.
And the very next panel is him hurtling down this bottomless pit that just happens to be right there.
Yeah,
keep in mind, this is the arm that Vader knows precisely where it is because he was just standing on it to pick up his lightsaber.
You don't want to see anything where Vader's like, "Oh shit."
Whoops.
Somebody can probably, I bet somebody in the comments below will tell us which one it was. I can't remember exact because they all bleed together to me. No pun intended. The Dracula movie. But there's one where Dracula literally is coming at the heroes of the movie and doesn't realize he's standing on ice and starts going, oh. I'm not kidding. That does happen. And then ends up falling through the ice. And he's frozen so he can be thawed out to be in the next movie. But that is how he's defeated, is he slips on some thin ice that he then cracks through, and Dracula's done for that movie. That's what
I never want to see Vader tripping literally over his own arm.
Oh, God. Yep. I don't want to see Vader. Just the idea of Vader tripping on anything is so sad.
Again, unless someone is throwing something at his legs to literally knock him over.
Actually, what would be cool is what if this had just been this exact same thing, but Luke used the Force to lift the arm at him or something like that. That would have been cool.
There's an awesome arc in one of the more recent Vader comics where Vader is sent on a quote-unquote mission to a planet, and it turns out he is just on some wildlife preserve planet to be hunted by Tarkin, and it's the Emperor playing the two against each other.
I read that. Yeah, that is cool as hell.
And Vader loses his legs at one point and has to build himself new legs.
Yeah, man. Well, the mythos of Vader just absolutely doesn't exist at this point. And if this had happened in a second movie, I would have been like, yeah, maybe we do need a new bad guy in here.
But
that kind of sucks.
He goes out like such a punk.
It is, like I said, it is insulting to maybe cinema's greatest villain. It is an actual insult, a slap in the face.
Yeah, and the fact that they would okay, it's 96.
Yeah.
We're a couple years out from the prequels. We don't necessarily know what they're all going to be about, but there's some rumblings. We do know that special editions are right around the corner. Yep. Star Wars is at a peak frenzy of we're just making stuff because we've got Shadow of the Empire at this time. We've got all the LucasArts games coming out, like X-Wing and Dark Force Rising and all that stuff.
Oh yeah.
There is a heightened respect for Vader at this point.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, and he's basically kind of the mascot of the franchise too, right? Like if you put
Yeah.
that Darth Vader helmet on something, that means Star Wars. And so to just do him dirty like this, man.
Yeah, it's not great. And when I
And then
read this morning, I was just like, I'm done, book. I'm just done.
of course he's got to hit us with his favorite catchphrase, "No!" as he
At,
falls.
at least we know that is an established Vader
Yeah.
catchphrase. That's true.
Yeah. Yeah, there he goes. And then very weird cut to goodbye, Leia. I loved you.
Again, why leave that line in if you're going to lean away from all the romance stuff that was
And then also this thing
excised from this adaptation?
yeah, I know, right? And then it's just, but then once again, immediately it's like, oh, Pushaw.
By the end of this page, like, yeah, we start this page with, oh no, Leia is dead. We end this page with, oh no, Leia's alive.
Yeah. and almost like Hall almost being like, oh, shut up, you idiot. She's fine.
Right, because Hollow wanders over. She's got the Kyber crystal, and she's like, but if you use this, we can bring her back to life. And Luke's like, oh yeah, duh. We can use the MacGuffin to save the person.
Yeah, there you go. Boom.
And
All
they
right.
do.
We're all good.
And
Yeah.
so we get some crackly pink force healing.
Yeah. Luke, I have an awful headache.
She has an awful headache.
Yeah. Oh, boy. Ah, God.
So they've still got the Kyber crystal, so
Yeah.
they win. Leia's back alive. All the Yuzum are dead, but apparently they can't bring them back to life.
like that. And because he even says, boy, I wish we could do something, but too bad, gotta bury him. And then instantly we're like, and then we're on the same page, we're like joking around.
There's no
And Leia, though, just like her
solemnness.
mom, I gotta say, though, just like her mom, that jumpsuit torn right at the midsection. Yeah, her and her mom, it's a problem in the family. That's what happens to them.
Yeah, it's a classic Amidala problem.
Yeah. It really is. And so, yeah, she's just like, all right, come on now. Once again, we still have to get to that meeting on Sir Carpus 4. Didn't that happen like months ago now? That was another thing where I'm going, how long is it? She's like, we still got to get to that meeting. You've been here weeks.
Those people think you're dead.
Yeah. Oh my God. How early were they going to get to the meeting, right? Like, I mean, what are you doing?
Well, we do know that Leia is very punctual.
Oh my God. When she said that, I'm like, I'm sorry. You're still trying to get to that meeting that was scheduled for 6 months ago? Good God.
Thankfully, they get back to their buggy. They turn 3PO and R2 back on, so everyone's okay. No characters that mattered died.
Yeah. And then, you're coming with us. We might pretend to join the Outlaws yet. I'm going to miss you both. And I know another man, a smuggler and a pirate who once thought like you did. Remember him? Remember that character everybody loved who we can't afford in this movie?
Right. They're having this last exchange with Hala and saying, hey, want to come with us? And she's like, no, I don't want to play the sides. And Luke's saying, oh, but we knew a guy who thought the same way once. He wasn't in this adventure, but remember him? Han Solo?
Yeah. Remember him? He was very popular.
I feel like he had a hairy sidekick that he cared more about than we did ours.
Yeah. yeah, that's right. Hey, boy. Okay. Well,
and our last line of this book is 3PO getting turned back on saying, have I missed anything important? Why is everyone laughing?
Yeah, why is everyone laughing at me? Oh, God. Hey, boy.
End.
It's over, man. Thank God.
Yeah, that was Splinter of the Mind's Eye. It's
a stinker-rooney, man.
Stinkeroonie, yeah. So Vader goes out like a punk. They got the Kyber crystal. Yeah. We're never going to see the character of Hala ever again.
No, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Actually, let's make sure that I'm correct about that, because wouldn't it be wild if we ran into her in some random comic down the road?
People don't forget these things, so it's possible somebody remembered the book probably and could have brought her back. I'm going to guess no, but it's not impossible to think that another creator might have at some point been like, yeah, I remember that character from a book.
Mm-hmm.
I bet she's way different if she does ever come back. But Does she? Do we have an answer on that?
I'm looking right now. Unfortunately, I have to start scrolling through the legends section of Wikipedia, and that is a
Oh,
mire.
of course, of course.
Oh, it's Hollow with two L's. My bad. Um, let's see.
Yeah.
Appearance of Splinter of the Mind's Eye and Splinter of the Mind's Eye comic. Nope, never see her again.
Oh, thank God. She's terrible. She's a terrible character. Horribly written. Yeah,
Well,
really
look,
bad.
the idea of a charlatan Force user, because sometime during that confrontation, when they're reviving Leia, she says,
Yeah.
"Oh, I never had any Force powers." What you were talking about earlier.
Yeah, really weird. And actually, they do that much better with the Kumail Nanjiani character on Obi-Wan.
Yes, the idea of someone being a fake Jedi is a fun idea. I think there's a lot of stuff to be played with there. We've even gotten like people who are Jedi adjacent in the form of like Shoru Imwe in Rogue One. We've got people who are like come at the Force from different angles with like Sabine in Ahsoka, or what we've got from like the Night Sister stuff that we know of in like Jedi Fallen Order and the Night Sisters there.
One of the things they've started to explore in more modern Star Wars, I do think is fascinating, is people who have connections to the Force that aren't Jedi, or even expressly Force users, like you talk about the Guardians of the Will, right? Their whole thing is like, I'm one with the Force is... I believe in the Force. I don't use it per se in the way of a Jedi, but more I revere it. And so I'm asking for it to protect me. I'm not using it to Force push people.
Right, exactly. So, like, I love those ideas and exploring people's relationship with the Force outside of the Jedi-Sith dichotomy, but squandering it with a character like Hala, where all we get of a resolution where that's concerned is, and I never really had the Force in one panel of this comic.
But then they don't
bother
to
let them.
Wait, what about when she was using the Force? Oh no, I wasn't. Well, then what were you? What the fuck are you doing?
It was all magnets, John. It's all magnets.
Yeah. Oh,
How
right, yeah. Magnets, bitches. Quote Breaking Bad. But yeah. Boof. Yeah. Anyway.
Overall, Splinter of the Mind's Eye is a cautionary tale.
It shows you, exactly. It's a dark view of a world where Star Wars turned into schlock.
Right. And it could have so easily gone that way. And some would argue has done.
It has tiptoed into it. It has definitely skirted the edge of schlock in the past. There's no question. But never to the point where there wouldn't have been any coming back from this. I'm not sure there would have been a third Star Wars movie if this had been the second one. It probably would have been back it up. Yeah, forget it.
It's tough to hold in your mind a universe in which this becomes the trajectory of Star Wars and a show like Andor, right?
Right.
It's very difficult to keep those things together. But then you have something that I'm always reminded of, in that there can always be some glimmer of hope in turning a franchise around and making it worthwhile again. When you have something like Battlestar Galactica, right? Which is so tropey, so campy, so schlocky in its origins.
Yep.
And the reboot of it in the mid-2000s being such a huge phenomenon of like dramatic television.
Some of the best TV, because I was just saw someone reacting to this, because of course they're talking about doing another Battlestar Galactica, which they shouldn't do. But I did see somebody talking about like, why are they doing this? The first one is a fun relic of the past. The second one is a masterpiece. Like, what do you have to add to this? Because like, the first one, the original one, is very schlocky and goofy, but endearing in that capacity. Mm-hmm. The second one is one of the best pieces of television ever made. So your best case scenario, you're trying to land somewhere between those two. Who cares? We're trying to make something that's just okay, Great. Fucking, I don't get it.
And look, you can go and see the reactions that people had when they announced the original remake of Battlestar Galactica. Yeah. Fans of that original show to this day probably still dislike the remake because of how it sort of betrays that fun, campy space adventure thriller robot monster of the week kind of vibe.
And women. Too many women.
Oh, yeah. Well,
okay. There's some of that shit too.
Yeah, there's plenty of that always, no matter what fandom.
Starbucks a girl.
Yeah. But
Yeah, man.
anyway,
A lot cooler than the other Starbuck.
what I was getting at with that point was, boy,
Yeah.
the main actor who played the original Starbuck would love that comment.
Bring it on, Dirk Benedict. Come at me.
That was all to say that
Yeah.
even had this turned to schlock, I think that there's a strong enough premise in Star Wars
Somebody
that
would have picked it up eventually.
somebody would have salvaged it. Yeah.
Yeah, but it
Even
probably
if it
would
hadn't
have.
been George Lucas.
It probably would have been a thing where, yes, somebody who was like, remember that movie from the 70s that was kind of fun, and then they made that shit sequel? I'm going to do this in the 90s. Somebody would have been like, I'm going to make a new Star Wars based on my childhood love. But it would be that thing where it would be some visionary filmmaker with the clout to remake or reboot something from their childhood that wasn't as popular.
Yeah, yeah.
And I got a take. Yeah. All right, well, let's get out of that world and back into the world that did happen.
Let us jump tracks back to this reality in which Star Wars is a continuing multimedia franchise that will not, must not be stopped.
No, it will never be stopped. Now, it's so endeared that even if they make a bunch of stuff that doesn't work, somebody will always still be like, yeah, but it once was the biggest thing ever, so we will always try. But we're heading now post Empire, right?
We are getting into the coverage of the Marvel Star Wars comics beyond The Empire Strikes Back. We know that, unfortunately, John, Han Solo is off the table. He's frozen in carbonite.
Right. That's right. Do we get some flashback issues, I wonder?
We might get a flashback issue or two, but I will say what we do get a lot more of is a certain man who rocks a cape.
Oh, man. I mean, that is the thing. Is like, Han's my favorite, but pretty closely followed by Lando is probably my second favorite Star Wars character. So Lando rule. Can't wait for that. I do see a promise of, because we don't have, obviously, just looking at the cover, though, I do see a promise of a death probe next week.
There may or may not be a death probe involved. Unfortunately, we are back into our love-hate relationship with Carmine Infantino that will continue for a few more issues to come here. So, say what you will about the art of this Splinter of the Mind's Eye adaptation. We did not have as angry a looking Leia or a sharp and pointy Luke as we are accustomed to.
They baseline, I will say that about baseline, the likenesses look all right. They looked like the characters as I recognize them. If
you were listening to the last few issues, you might note, like, we didn't really have a lot to say about the art, because the art's pretty stock and standard, and, like, there was nothing really to complain about.
It's neither terrible, nor does it in any way kind of stand out. I think, once again, especially because of we grew up with these comics, this looks like what I remember most of these comics looking like baseline
absolutely.
Dark Horse Star Wars art.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think I'm looking forward to continuing our coverage into the Marvel era, and I think as we go down the stretch now, once we're past Empire Strikes Back, we will start looking at alternate takes at that as well. Maybe not as many as we did with A New Hope, but there are definitely a few out there, including the Infinities and the manga. I'm looking forward to getting to the Empire Strikes Back manga 100%. As well.
Yeah, because the manga, as we've talked about, that's a take. That's interesting. All right.
Absolutely.
Well, good. But that is that'll. If you want more, though, from this show, we do
always
this every
more.
Week. Always more, much like the Star Wars franchise. I think that's the motto over at Disney. You can get more content from us and all the shows on the Punch Up Entertainment Network by going to patreon.podbean.com/punchup. Once again, that's patreon.podbean.com/punchup for cool exclusive bonus content, as well as helping support all the shows on the network.
And of course, one of the best ways to support us is also to come visit us over on our YouTube page. That's youtube.com/punchupentertainment. They're the optimal way of viewing this show, in my opinion, because you can read the comic along with us, as well as seeing our beautiful faces. Well, at least John's beautiful face and my Quasimodo-esque, with my left eye lower than my right eye, and the horrible disfiguring scar that I got as a child.
I'm glad you're willing to finally admit what the people have always said, which is I'm the looker of the show.
Absolutely. You're the face. I'm the muscle. We know this.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, but if anyone's got a problem, I'm like, you take it to Gorgoni. You let him deal with that. See how you like it. Yeah.
So if you want to see the third ear growing out of the top of my head, come join us over on YouTube. And while you're there, please Like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that bell to get reminders about every time we release a new episode of this and any other show on the Punch Up Entertainment Network.
Yeah, and we do, by the way, whether we respond or not, we don't respond to all of them. We do see those comments that you leave below, and they are greatly appreciated.
We love knowing that we're not howling into the void, and we love hearing people's takes on audio issues that may arise in our coverage that we don't catch before it goes out.
Yeah, if there was a weird glitch in this episode, it's because we forgot about it.
Podcast time travel is real, and it is a constant bane to our existence.
Indeed. But I think that's going to wrap it up, Gorgoni.
Absolutely it will, because as always, I have been Mike Gorgoni.
I'm John Campbell.
And may the panel be with you.